Hi everybody. I'm going to make a video for you tonight. I changed my room around a little. You can't see it right now, but when it's brighter out or when I have a chance to, I'll just show you how I changed it. I don't feel like getting up and getting the light on to show it to you right now. Um, Gosh, I made such a depressing, sad video a few days ago. I was really aggravated when I made that video, you guys. Just because where I live at, there's so many problems, and the last thing that I really needed was to find bugs in my apartment, which I didn't really find any, but I know something bit me. I don't know, you guys. I've had a rough few days lately. You know, with the holidays coming up, it's really hard. You guys, I had a really hard year this year. My, she was kind of like my adopted mom. Her name was Mary, and it wasn't young Mary that was next door to me. It was the older Mary that had been in the nursing home. She passed away earlier this year, unexpectedly and suddenly. And then I got news that, gosh, this was around June or July, I think. I can't remember right now, but it was quite a long ways. It was quite a few months after the fact. I found out that my dad passed away, and he passed away a short time after Mary had passed away, the one that was in the home that was like a mom to me. And so that was quite devastating. It really was, and upsetting, to say the least, you guys. You know, when you don't have love or kindness or really deep, meaningful relationships in your life. You know, maybe most of your family's passed away. Maybe you really don't have any super close friends that you can really talk to. You know, when that's the case, you know, it makes it really hard when you lose, you know, people like, you know, your second mom. Because my first mom passed away in 2007. You know, and to lose this lady that was like my mom. And then to lose my real dad was just very hard. More so, probably because of that even. And it makes me really sad tonight. And I've kind of had a hard last few days because I don't know, just everything. You know, I'll go through different spells or different periods of time that I get kind of sad, you guys, and down. And when I'm down like that, I try not to make any videos. I don't want to depress anyone. But, you know, all of us go through that every so often, or nearly all of us. And sometimes it's just really hard because just our circumstances, you know, how we live, the fact we're getting a lot older. I'm in my 40s, and I have chronic pain issues and I have a lot of health problems to deal with, and I just don't really have any relationship with my family at all, you guys. I honestly don't. I talk to an aunt by marriage every so often, but she's getting older and she's in really bad health too, and I don't know how long she'll be here for. Um, that's the only person I talk to as far as family goes, and then I quit going to this church where I at least had some friends. None of them were like really close buddies, um, but they were okay. But I quit going there, you guys. There was just so many problems that church was having. I think I was going to say my pastor, not my pastor, but the lady that would preach there, I think she was preaching once saved, always saved. And that's evil and it's wrong. And I didn't want to hear any more of it. And that's why I quit going, because I felt like she was misleading people so bad by telling them that I had a hard time believing anything else that she was going to say anymore. Okay, you guys, I'm back. I had to stop for a minute. I'm trying to talk kind of softly because I don't want to bother my roommate. These walls are so thin, and I don't want to wake him up, and and I don't want to bother um, my neighbors that live on the other side of me. Again, these walls are really thin, and I don't want to keep them awake. And everybody here goes to sleep really early, so I just don't want to keep people awake or bother them. There was a lady that lived on the end of this complex, and this was before, I think this was before the senior, the older Mary, before she moved in. See, she moved in first, and she was here 1 or 2, maybe 3 years, a couple of years. I can't remember how many. And then we moved in, and then she was here just a few years, and then she had gone to a nursing home and wasn't there very long, maybe just a couple of years, and passed away. But before, and that's the one that I always call my second mom, but before she moved in, there was a lady that lived on the end of the complex. And that lady, I can't remember what her name was because we weren't living here yet. But anyways, she was really weird. Young Mary told me different stories about that woman. I think she was an older woman. And I mean, they were just so bizarre. She said that lady used to bang on her walls early in the morning, and she said it sounded like she had a shoe or something heavy in her hand, and she would bang on the wall. And she said she would do that every morning at a certain time. And that was just really weird. And I think young Mary was scared to confront her because that lady was a little bit off. And then I think one time, young Mary told me that her TV was a little loud, not super loud. And this lady called the cops on her for having her TV on a little loud. And she said these cops came to her door to tell her to turn her TV down. Which is just crazy, you guys, because Mary didn't have her TV that loud. Ever, you know, she really didn't. And so that was just how weird that lady was. And you know, it got so bad, she was always calling the office to complain about anything and everything. I mean, she would even call, and this is what some other tenants that lived here told me, she would call on the weekends to complain about something in the apartment or something outside the apartment. And it was nonstop. Every day she would call to leave some kind of complaint. And they got tired of it. And that's why they eventually asked her to move. And that's why she had to leave. And how this other lady, or this man actually told me about it here, how he knew about it, is he was such good friends with the managers and the owners that they tell him about it and laugh about it, which is kind of sad, but that's the way it was. And so anyways, that lady had to move out. And so that was just one of the things here. Another thing that happened here is there was a man here named Kerry. And he was a pretty nice guy. He really was. And I felt really bad for him, you guys. He didn't seem to have much of a life here, you know. And he wasn't that old. He was maybe in his 50s or so. And I guess he had two boys, and, or maybe it was one. I think it was one. And I don't remember them ever coming by here to see him. And this poor guy, you guys, he had really had a hard life. And I can't remember what all was wrong with his health or why he was here. But he was very nice, very helpful. You know, if you had a question about something in your apartment, I mean, he had an answer. He was very sharp mentally. And he started working for some, I don't remember where it was at, probably like odd jobs, like landscaping or painting, something like that. And how did that go? Let me think, you guys. So what had happened is he didn't show up for work for a couple of days, I think. I think it was 1 day or 2 days. And so they came knocking on his door. I think his boss did, to see where he was at. And when they came knocking, he didn't answer his door. And they knew something was wrong. And somebody had a key. I can't remember if he was friends with a girl that lived here that still lives here. And I think she had a key. And I think they got the key from her to check on him. And he had had a really bad stroke. And how did that go, you guys? This has been quite a few years back. And so he'd had a stroke. and he was sitting in his living room chair, and he wasn't able to get up and get to the phone or go to the bathroom or anything at all. That poor guy, you guys. He couldn't get up to get food or water or nothing. And when they took him out, he looked so bad. You know, the ambulance came and they put him on a stretcher. And when they took him out, I mean, he looked like he was already gone. He was so pale, and I think he was blue. And I thought he was dead. I really did. And I didn't stand around to ask questions, you know? It was a painful enough situation for all the people involved in it. And so I didn't want to aggravate and say, hey, what's wrong? And blah, blah, blah. You know, I just let everybody be. You know, this complex, you guys, is weird. It's not like a normal complex where people, you know, hang out and talk and where they, you know, make conversation with each other. This is a really weird place. And it's not like that here. And I hate that and so anyways, this guy went to the hospital. I think he was there a couple of weeks. And he passed away, you guys. And one of the things my neighbor had told me about that is, I guess his son or somebody she knew a little bit was there before he passed away, and he told him, he said, he said something like, am I dying, or something like that. And the doctor said, yes. He said, sir, I'm sorry to tell you, but you are dying. I guess the stroke was pretty bad, you guys. Well, I'm sure it was. And so then he died probably not long after they told him, you're dying. So that was really sad, you guys. He was a nice guy, too. And then when he passed away, this other lady came to live in that apartment. And she's such an unhappy lady, you guys. I feel so sad for her. She's really angry and lonely, and I can tell she's so miserable. And I feel so bad for her. You know, she's got a lot of health issues going on, and I can tell she hasn't had a very good life. And I just feel bad for her. But you guys, all these people here have such tremendous problems that I try not to get involved. And it's nothing personal against them. It's just, you guys, when I've gotten involved with other neighbors, you know, not just here, but at several of the other complexes I've lived in, when I ever took the time to really get involved in their life, and in, you know, you can't be involved with people, you guys, without getting in their problems, you know, because they're going to say, hey, I got this problem, can you help me? And of course they're going to say it. They're, you know, if you get close to them and you get to know them, and you guys, when you get your nose in other people's business, and then they get their nose in your business, it always ends up bad. And it's because at some point, you know, something's going to get turned around, and somebody's going to say, oh, you know, did you know she said that about you? And see how it goes. And then everybody's pissed off royally. And then, you know, and then you've told them just about yourself or your life. they turn it around on you into something totally different. And then everybody dislikes you, you know? And it's always that way at these apartment complexes that I've lived at, you know, and it's horrible, you know, because you don't want to be like that. You want to be nice. You want to help people. And you guys, you just can't do it anymore. You know, this day and age has changed things so drastically. You know, the way things used to be years and years ago, it's not like that anymore. You know, you used to be able to make friends. You used to be able to laugh with people, make jokes with them, talk to them. And you guys, in this day and age, you can't. You know, something will get turned around. And it just seems like when things get turned around, you honestly end up having to move because the whole complex, not the whole complex, but a lot of them will just turn against you. And it's usually older women. That's what I've noticed. You know, most of the men don't do that, and most of the younger women, they don't got time for that. It's older women that start gossiping and, you know, all these different, you know, veins of what he said or she said or blah, blah, blah. And that's why, you guys, I don't get close to any of the people where I live, because some of them, you guys, I've made the mistake and I've gotten very close to them over the years and got to know them, and they got to know me. And it turned out very bad because, you know, at some point one of the older women didn't like me. Then she turned several of the other older women around to where they didn't like me. And so it just started a hellish problem. And one of the women that started that was this lady with the dog that passed away this August. And she was such an unhappy person. But she turned, you know, my older neighbor that I knew for years before Carol came here, she turned this older lady against me. And to this day, you guys, I don't think that older neighbor trusts me or wants anything to do with me because of Carol. And I don't know what Carol told her, but see, that's an example. Anything you say, they'll turn it 100% around. And then the other people are like, they don't know what to believe, you know? And so they stay away from you or they dislike you. You know, a lot of times they'll end up disliking you so much and you don't even know what you did. And the truth is, you didn't do anything to them. It's just based on what another older woman said, you know, and based on what Carol said. That's why this lady on the end does not like me. She has not liked me from the beginning. And I think from the beginning, you guys, that she tried to be polite because we were neighbors. But she, in all honesty, did not want anything to do with me. That's the one that her first name starts with the letter B. I don't want to say a lot of details because sometimes I don't know who listens to these videos, you guys. And so I have to be careful. But yeah, she turned against me before she even moved here. And I think it was because of Carol. I really do. You know, she kind of got to know Carol, and then she did know young Mary. And young Mary, at some point, before this one that her name starts with B, before she moved in here, young Mary had her so raffled up, round up, whatever, about, or wound up about just so many things. She was telling her, you know, that I could help get her in here. I was good friends with the manager, blah, blah, blah. And I could have, but you guys, I didn't feel, I had a really weird, uneasy feeling about it, and I couldn't understand why. Because the one lady seemed very nice, and I just kept feeling so weird about it. And I just felt like I wasn't supposed to do it. And so for many months, when we had this one apartment become available, she wanted me to try to get her in there. And you guys, I wouldn't do it. I just felt, like I said, like God didn't want me to do it. And so young Mary had her wound up, and I'm sure she told her, oh, she could do all these things for you, because they were both mad at me. And they were both texting me, saying thanks a lot, in a negative way. Because that apartment ended up being rented out to somebody else. And that really pissed them off, you guys. It really did. And so, see, she was wound up before she even moved in here. And then, you guys, before she moved in here, her and young Mary quit talking. And it's like, what in the crap is going on? Here, they both were flirting with me. They were being rude to me because I didn't get her into that one apartment. And then out of the blue, they ended up not talking to each other anymore. And hating each other, and I mean really hating each other, you guys. There was no love lost at all whatsoever between these two older women. And so then when this lady finally moved in here, oh my gosh, it was just so much drama. And her and young Mary never made up. They never would sit down and talk with each other or discuss things. And it was really quite sad, you guys, because young Mary died, and she died in her apartment, but she died so full of anger and resentment and a whole lot of bitterness. I mean, she was so angry. This is kind of weird, but a couple of weeks, like 1 or 2 weeks before she died, she wanted to fight with me. And she came running over to where I was parked at. And she said, I just don't know what I did to make you so angry. And I said, Mary, you didn't do anything, hon. I said, I'm just dealing with a lot, because my little cat died. And there was just a lot going on. And she said, here you're supposed to be two Christian women, you and that other lady. And I didn't know what to say to her, you guys. She wanted to fight. And I didn't want to fight with her. And anyway, she finally left me alone, and I drove off. But it's just weird that shortly thereafter she passed away. I almost wonder if she wasn't planning to do something, you guys, to get really even with me. Sorry, you guys. And I'm wondering if God didn't take her out of here, even though it's through death, in an attempt to protect me. Because that lady was so full of anger and vengeance that you just didn't know what she might be planning to do because she liked to cause problems, you guys. I mean, she'd call, anybody she could to start a problem. A manager or whoever, she would call them. And that just makes me wonder about that. And then with Carol, when she finally passed away, oh my God, you guys, I was so relieved when these two women, first young Mary and then finally Carol, when they passed away. And not in a mean way, not in a rude way. I knew that they had been so full of vengeance and venom their whole lives that, I was hoping they went somewhere better, and for young Mary, she didn't go somewhere better. But, that's what you hope. And, so when you see people full of anger and hatred and they pass, you're just so relieved because, you're like, gosh, this person was so unhappy. Maybe they're happy where they're at. I don't know. And you don't know unless you pray on it, and you guys, I think more often than not that they're honestly not in a better place. And the reason I feel that way is because people, you guys, that are full of hatred and venom like that, they're usually full of unforgiveness and anger and resentment and grudges. They hold grudges like crazy. And they usually, at their last moments, you guys, they don't usually repent. I wish they did, but a lot of times they don't. Because if they were getting, or they were truly sorry for the things they had done or said to others, you would notice a huge change in the way they act, in the way they talk. They'd be saying, please forgive me, for when I was younger or blah, blah, blah. And they don't want to repent and they don't want to ask God to forgive them. Sorry, you guys. I have to keep yawning. I hate it when I start that. And so, yeah, that's just how that goes. But you guys, I was so relieved when young Mary passed away, because at first I didn't know, although I had a really bad feeling about where she was. When they wheeled her out, you guys, what had happened is I heard the police go walking by. They have their walkie-talkies on and stuff. And when they're standing around, you can, without even looking out your window, you can hear them. And so there's some police standing out there. And so I heard some walking by, and I thought, this is weird. It was like at midnight or 1 in the morning. And I thought, this is so weird. And I thought, I wonder if somebody passed away. Because you guys, the only time the police came here or come here is if somebody passes away and say their family wants someone to do a welfare check. Sorry you guys, I keep yawning. And so yeah, they walked by and they were out there. And I didn't want to bother them, you guys, and go running up and saying, hey, what happened? Because, I don't know, it just didn't seem respectful, if that makes sense. I wanted to leave them alone, let them do what they needed to do, and stay out of their way, And when most of them left, because there was quite a few here for like maybe 5 or 10 or 20 minutes. But when they left, and I thought they were all gone, and then I looked out my window and I could see one of them sitting on like a little chair by young Mary's front door. And I opened my front door and I looked um, and I said, hey, I said, and I was trying to talk really soft because you guys, it was like, at that point, I think it was like 1 or 1:30 in the morning. And I didn't want to bother the other tenants, because if they weren't already awake, and a lot of them weren't, a lot of them go to bed early and they can't hear well. And so I didn't want to bother the other people. But so I said as softly as I could, I said, hey, is everything okay over there? And I looked and the cop, he shook his head no. And I thought, oh man, because, young Mary had been in not real great health, you guys, and she was an older lady. And I was floored and shocked. And I thought a minute and I said, did she pass away? And he said, yes. And I said, okay, thank you. And I think I said something like, I'm sorry to bother you or something, because I really didn't want to bother him, you guys, And what it was, I think the one cop was sitting there. They had already discovered her body, and he was waiting for the coroners or somebody to come. And I could tell he was really disturbed with what he had found, because you could just tell in his demeanor that, he had found something really sad and just really heartbreaking. It really bothered him a lot. Maybe he was a new cop or something. And anyways, and I felt bad for him. And I think they found her in her bed, you guys. She's the one that she had diabetes pretty badly for many years of her life. She had to give herself an injection in her stomach, I don't know how many times a day. And it was hard on her. It really, she struggled with that. She did not like having to give herself shots in her stomach. And I don't blame her. And, she had that fibromyalgia where their body hurts. She had that for many years. And I feel so bad for her, you guys, that she didn't make it to be with God, you know. And I know so many years. She used to be in so much pain from that fibromyalgia. She had it, I think, all over her body, but mostly in her legs and feet. And she would cry. She would be in so much pain. And I would tell her to go to the doctor and get pain medicine, that they would give her something because she was hurting so bad. And she was an older lady. And as you get older, you guys, it's so hard to be in pain. I mean, when you're younger, if you have pain in your body like arthritis or, a bad neck or back, or maybe you've got really bad feet that just hurt a lot, or migraines or headaches or whatever. When you're younger, you can handle it because you're in better shape, and you're stronger. When you start to get older, it's really hard to handle that, without pain medicine or something. And so I would tell her to get pain medicine from her doctor, and she never would do it. I think one of her roommates told her to do the same thing. And I think at one point she had tried a little pain medicine from her doctor. But she just complained and would say, oh, it made me sleepy, or I just didn't feel real good taking it. But you guys, to go back then, to just be in constant pain, that just doesn't make sense. And so, anyways, so she lived in constant pain for many years with that fibromyalgia. And she used to cry, you guys. She would tell me different things about her family. Her father, when he was, oh God, I don't know how old she told me he was, maybe in his 50s or so, or even younger, that they found him dead. And I think she said he had been in a fight with somebody and they stabbed him. And I don't think they killed him from stabbing him, although I could be wrong. And they threw him over the bridge into this water. And I don't know if it was deep or shallow. I don't know anything about it. And they found him dead. And he'd been beaten and stabbed and thrown over a bridge. And I don't know if he drowned or if just getting stabbed so many times. I don't know, you guys, but she used to cry, and I don't blame her. That was her parent. And then she'd tell me about her mom. And her mom went to the hospital with a very severe sinus infection. And I guess they gave her medicine, like antibiotics, I don't know. But something happened, and that infection spread to her brain, and she died pretty quickly. That was another one that Mary used to cry about, and I don't blame her, And then another one was her brother. Her brother went hiking. He was maybe 19 or 20 with some friends, and I think his girlfriend or his wife, I can't remember which one she was, she went with him, and he sat down somewhere for a couple of minutes, and this huge boulder came down and hit him in the head, and it killed him instantly. That was so sad. Mary had a really sad life, you guys, and she had so many hardships. You guys, I'm getting so tired tonight. I'm going to start falling asleep and waking up and trying to finish the story, which I've done a few times, I think. Talk to you guys later. Have a good night. Keep praying the blood of Jesus for each other. And I pray for you guys every day. Love you all. Have a good night.